you can hear his voice is developing mid-season though. That must have been like mega props to him because I know every man I've ever known is proper self-conscious when their voice is going through that phase.
Yep.
And he's worn it like a champ. The kid uploads a lot of TikToks, and he's mocking his own voice in the series.
I'm fine with him being in it. People that are like, he shouldn't be alive. He wouldn't. There is no canon information about how old he was in the prequels and how old those
Yeah,
races
there's only
lived
Legends information, isn't there?
Yeah, and I get the whole thing of the line. Well, he has the line of, "We haven't seen Sith in millennia. This is outrageous."
They called it a Splinter Order. They don't think it's Sith.
This is the thing. I think the people in that original council, even they're not going to learn what actually has gone down.
John Constantine, post New 52, made his first appearance in Justice League Dark #1 in November 2011.
The end of the Transformers film where Optimus Prime starts doing his speech and Linkin Park starts playing.
Hello, and welcome to episode 119 of Cutscene Combos. We have got an absolutely jam-packed episode. We have got our third Pride Month character profile, which is featuring John Constantine. We've got The Boys, episode 3. We've got The Acolyte, episode 4. We'll be discussing some of our favourite cinema moments of all time. We, of course, have the Nerd News Network as well. Now, before we get into anything, and before I ask Corey how his week's been, we're recording on a Wednesday this week instead of a Thursday, which is why we're doing The Boys episode 3. Next week will be The Boys episode 4 and 5, so it'll be a bigger Boys episode next week to catch up. But that is the situation as it is. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
Oh, it's been pretty good. As you already know, because I put it in our group chat, I spent my entire weekend deep diving Obsidian. And there's probably people out there that have no clue what Obsidian is. It is essentially it is a note-taking, it is a markdown note-taking program.
Yeah. I would consider myself at this point an Obsidian power user.
Yeah, you've been using it for a while for the podcast notes, and I've known about it for a long time, more so from the D&D side of things. And it's something that I've always kind of meant to get at some point. But I have my D&D campaign recently ended and we're starting the next one. And as a way to be better at taking my notes this time, because this last campaign I was rubbish at it, I thought, fuck it, I'll get Obsidian. And yeah, I ended up deep diving into plugins, how to set up templates, trying to set up like automated systems so I can create. I tried to get a button.
There's a lot to it.
There was. I got to a point where I hit a wall because I don't know how to code. Because I wanted to have a button that I could click and it would make a new session note with the template of the session, like what I want for a session note, and also put it in the right folder in the right place. But the folder bit is what needed coding, and I was like, I can't get this to work. But I got everything else to work. So I have like templates and everything. I went really deep into it. And then on top of that, I also did my Stream Deck, which I don't even stream anymore, and I wasn't really using it properly, so I've reconfigured everything. Like I've got shortcuts for Obsidian on there, so I can push a button and it makes the notes and stuff. I have shortcuts for my creative software and stuff and all that. I've got it all set up properly.
With how long it's been since you did anything with your Stream Deck, did you have to do like a massive update to it, as well as realizing that you now download plugins from the marketplace and not natively in the app?
Because so I still used it all the time because I have my like Discord mute, Discord deafen, and my mic mute. So like when we're gaming and stuff, like I'm using it regularly in that sense. I just didn't use it for anything else. So it's just like literally like I use 3 buttons. Nice. So it was up to date, and I knew the marketplace and stuff had it changed to that. So yeah, I had a
facelift.
Yeah, gave it a facelift. Got a couple of new plugins and stuff. Spent some time sorting that out, and then I've just been spending time doing my D&D character. I've been a full nerd this week. Like I've been grilling my DM on questions about the campaign that he can't answer because he doesn't know, because he hasn't had to think about the fact that, like, my character's 700 years old and needs to know what was happening 700 years ago. And my DM doesn't fucking know what was happening 700 years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's been my week. Very nerdy. How's yours been?
My week's been good. What have I done this week? We were out for Father's Day on Sunday. We had friends round on Saturday. I've been big chilling for the most
Big
part.
chill.
Yeah, it's been a quiet before the storm kind of week at work. So I'm like enjoying the peace of just cracking on with like that stuff that always needs to be done. Just knowing it's going to be chaos again in the next few weeks. But other than that, I've been pretty chilling. I'm behind on my comics again. I finally got into a good rhythm of like working my way through my backlog and actually making progress. Then we moved, and I've not got back into the habit. So now I need to break the habits I've put in place and find time for comics. Yeah, it's every time I get close to a system that works, something changes, and then it doesn't work anymore. It's dreadful, but we will get there by hook or by crook. But let us get into it with our character profile this week on the one and only John Constantine, famously played by Keanu Reeves. John Constantine, post New 52, made his first appearance in Justice League Dark #1 in November 2011. John Constantine was born in Liverpool, England. Throughout his childhood, he was interested in magic and the occult, often experimenting with it. However, things really took a turn when he attempted a spell he'd learnt that promised he'd become a powerful magician. What he didn't know was that the spell required a sacrifice. This sacrifice was taken by way of his family's home catching fire and resulted in the death of both of his parents. While John hadn't devoted himself to magic fully yet, he was still interested in it greatly as a hobby. Instead, he went on to work as a con man, where he would learn valuable skills of manipulation, convincingly deceiving people, and also being able to read people's true intentions. After a short stint doing this, he moved on to forming a band with his first love and their mutual friend. They all lived their dream rock star lives while also taking magic more seriously. Sadly, this led to yet another tragedy, as when a spell went horrifically wrong, his girlfriend Veronica had her connection to the mortal world severed, causing her to die. This naturally ended the band and forced John to take magic more seriously going forward. As he spent time travelling and learning more about being a magician, John had more tragic relationships, including a casual relationship with a demon. Eventually, John would build a small team of occultists in Newcastle, known as the Newcastle Crew. This would lead to John's darkest moment, however, as in an attempt to save a child from the demon Nurgle, he failed, sending her straight into his clutches. It was at this time he left Europe, deciding there was nothing more for him to learn there, and headed for New York City, where he would study under one of the most powerful magicians in the world, Nick Necro. He would go on to date Nick, and he would also meet his future girlfriend and powerful magician, Zatanna Satara, a name that many people will be familiar with, no doubt. John and Zatanna would have to separate themselves from Nick when he became obsessed with finding the books of magic and allied himself with the evil Cult of the Cold Flame, who the three of them had previously spent many years battling against together. After more time working in the shadowy and strange world as an occultist detective and gaining more magical experience and power, John would eventually become a Justice League reserve member, and then this was as a result of having stepped up as a member of Justice League Dark, where a bunch of magicians fought against Enchantress, and even stepping up when the Crime Syndicate took over and dismantled the Justice League. John Constantine is a very interesting character because he's an anti-hero, but not in like a Punisher anti-hero way.
Yeah.
He's an anti-hero. It's like I will decide what is right, and I will make sure it gets done. If someone gets hurt or dies as a result, it doesn't matter as long as the right thing happened.
Yeah.
He's very much the ends justify the means, no matter what. There's not a lot of grey area in there, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, leads to some interesting situations with people like Superman and Batman, who are a bit more moral absolutist.
Yep.
But he's also the epitome of horny boy. In the same way that we joke like Wolverine has been around for so long that he kind of will sleep with anyone.
Yeah.
Like I said, John Constantine, man, woman, demon, alien, he's down to clown, as they say. Which I think is also really important in accurately representing people. And I guess, although it's not really a term commonly used in comics, he'd probably be closer to maybe like pansexual when you consider demons and aliens. But
yeah, I guess
that's probably getting into an area that we can't really accurately describe.
Yeah, it's not really like there's a real world.
Exactly.
For that.
But it's not. You wouldn't look at John Constantine and instantly go, "Oh yeah, he likes men as well as women," and that's kind of the point. Sexuality doesn't have to do with any preconceived idea of what someone looks like, and I think that's why John Constantine might be a character that people who don't read his comics but know of him would kind of potentially be surprised by that. But yeah, very, very cool character.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still hoping that Keanu Reeves will get another shot at playing him. We'll see though.
I'd love to, but unfortunately, Keanu Reeves is not getting any younger.
He is not.
That
being said, he's already been around for like 600 years, if you believe the theory. So.
True.
Right. The Boys, episode 3.
Yes.
Now, this is like 2 weeks old at this point.
Yeah, though, I only watched this today.
Yeah, I do you know what it was? I was so worried about forgetting to watch it. I watched it on like Monday. And because the episodes do flow together so nicely because they were released together, I'm struggling to separate what from what here. So the end of episode 2 was A-Train handing over the information that freed the Starlighters.
Yes.
Cool. So Butcher and Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character were plotting and conniving at the beginning of this episode on how to essentially kidnap Ryan so they could deprogram him from Homelander's extremism. And it was being hinted at that maybe Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character was more interested in turning Ryan into a double agent.
That, or I think more so trying to turn him into someone on their side who would fight Homelander, I think.
Is that not double agent?
Oh, I see double agent as being like he's planted in there.
Well, yeah, I don't think they just send him straight in to have a punch up.
Oh, see, well, I don't know. I was taking it as like they'd get him away from there, train him up so that he can then be the only person that can fight Homelander.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, there was clearly a bit of a mix of opinions on what happens to Ryan after they get him away from Homelander.
There was also the brand new Seven being revealed to the world.
Yes, with their 2 new members.
Yeah, Sister Sage and Firecracker.
Yep.
My favourite bit of this season so far is the guy who's taken over from Noir being one of the most naturally chatty motherfuckers ever and just constantly getting told to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's like when Homelander says it in this episode where he's talking to Ashley, it was almost like a muscle like, shut the fuck up, Noir, and just kept on going.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting we got a bit more on him. The fact that we were sort of right with the idea that he had gone to Godolkin, got his acting.
It was a performing superhero, not a crime stopping.
Then he went and did something at some theatre or something.
Yeah.
and then got this role, and he was like, I just need some direction. Like, Noir lives in a dojo, but he didn't seem to know kung fu. It's like, that's such a typical thing of like, they probably just were like, oh, Noir doesn't speak. He probably wants like a dojo or something. We'll give him a dojo.
Yeah. It's like Noir's supposed to be like a ninja character, so they're just like, yeah, so he's in a dojo, obviously. I love how, even though it's inside Seven headquarters, though, they haven't let him decorate his room, and he's still forced to be silent. Like, Homelander is so delusional, he's like, no, you're Noir, you're not allowed to speak, ever.
But yeah, it's like, they just they want Noir back, but like, this guy has to become Noir. It's not allowed to be like a new version of Noir.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It is good. We also got, like, with Firecracker, we got the bit with Annie and a bit of a history as to the fact that Annie's a little shit.
Yeah. So Annie was... We kind of knew she was a bit brutal when she was on the scene on the Up and Up as a kid. But let's just be completely clear. Just because someone's mean to you as a child doesn't mean you need to spread misinformation on the internet and try and ruin their life.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's been like, I'm not going to forgive you as an adult because you were like a bully to me, or you ruined my life.
You really negatively impacted my life. Yeah.
To then there's the extreme of going, oh, I'm going to tell the world that the Earth's flat.
Yeah, I'm going to tell the world that you're running a pedophile ring is just a crazy jump.
So yeah, obviously very extreme response to sort of said thing.
Exactly.
Sister Sage obviously calling out Homelander for not liking her,
you put
calling
me in the
him
suit
out
because you're angry that you're definitely that petty.
I think he's already regretting his decision.
Yeah. The really interesting bit about this episode for me was Sister Sage's move to be CEO and that kind of sub arc.
Yes.
Because it was Ashley who's had the shit kicked out of her, got elevated, was doing an okay job in the grand scheme of Vought.
Yeah.
And there's now, for just again been having the shit kicked out of her, she's ripping her own hair out, she's losing her mind. To being told you're no longer CEO, you're just the face. Fuck off is crazy. But it was the bit where they're interviewing the girl from the crime reporters or whatever. Sage is got to be fuming.
Yeah.
Because she's like, okay, she's about to give us a bit of information. Homelander blows her head up, which was phenomenal because it's showing that Homelander might think he's trying to be better because, he's brought someone in who's smart to help him. He's still such an angry, petulant child.
Oh, yeah.
But then her just like discreetly shredding her CEO resignation. She was like, know what? I'll keep my head, thanks.
Yeah, it's like suddenly realizing that if I try and actually get out of this or quit or whatever, Homelander's probably not, he's still this scary guy.
She knows how much time they've spent covering bodies and how easily they do it. Do they really think, or does she really think that they won't do the same to her?
Yeah, she has no way out of there alive, unfortunately.
Exactly.
There's moving Sister Sage to CEO, clearly like her choice and suggestion, because she knows, okay, that's going to give me more control over trying to limit Homelander a bit and manage everyone else. Obviously, we know she's playing Homelander just as much as she's weaving this thread against the Starlighters. Like, she's playing two double field here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing with Deep completely is her manipulating him.
Yeah, well, was there not like a bloody needle on the table? Where
I was trying to...
So people think because she's so intelligent, she gives herself lobotomies to relax.
Oh.
Yeah. Because her brain clearly like grows and restructures, and that's how she's so intelligent. So they think that when she needs to unwind, whereas some people do like drugs or drink or whatever, that doesn't do anything for her. So she lobotomizes herself so she can just relax. And that's why she seems zoned out of it.
Do you know what? Thinking about it as well now, We know they put don't they put trackers in them?
They used to. I don't know if they still do. They probably do.
It could also be that she's intelligent enough to realize she's got a tracker or something and then take that out of her.
I think we were supposed to view that scene as she's deeply troubled
Possibly.
and she's doing her equivalent of getting high, which is cutting off a bit of her brain so that she
That
can
would
relax for
make
5
sense.
minutes. It's very on brand for the show and the way they tell their story.
I just was like, this also could be her playing Deep.
She's absolutely manipulating the fuck out of Deep. And I'm curious to see where that goes, because Deep is an absolute scumbag.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also, because he's so dumb, you do just find yourself going, Deep. Oh, you silly sod.
Well, he's always chasing to prove himself, while it's also like being a shit.
Yeah, it's like, maybe just stop fucking fish, and you'll get taken a bit more seriously.
Maybe just stop, like, trying to fuck everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Just stop putting your dick in things. But without a doubt, the craziest part is obviously the centerpiece of the entire episode, the confrontation at the ice rink.
Oh yeah, the chaos that ensued.
Yeah, which was brutal, by the way.
Oh, also, like, so the start of that when, like, they realize it's Homelander, and then Huey's stuck in the vent above. Were you as on edge as me of being like, Homelander, please don't look up. Please don't look up. Because it's obviously we know he has
X-ray. It's not even
X-ray.
look up, it's his hearing, it's his X-ray. We know he's got a better sense of smell as well. So it's like, Huey, just don't move. Hopefully when he comes in, you'll just be part of the room so he won't notice. And then just don't move and he still won't notice. Be a bench. Be a sofa. Just as long as you don't do anything to draw attention to yourself, hopefully he won't notice you.
But instead he had to look over the grate and let sweat drip down.
That is one of the most terrifying portrayal, like, interactions of Homelander we've seen. Like, Homelander's been scary, but a lot of the time he's been like petulant child or demolishing everything. We've not had many like chases.
Yeah, we've
getting like a bit of a chase was fucking awesome.
Yeah, having him realize and you're like, oh shit. And it's just like the instant blast of the vent, smashes up into it. He's not there. Then it's like catches a glimpse of him. Then to the point where the light gets turned on as he goes to laser him, and he just lasers through the ice skater.
It's interesting to me, and I'm not trying to be like a lore idiot here, but I do find it really funny, the notion that these super powerful lasers are coming out of his eyes, but a bright light shone in his eye still makes him go like that.
Well, I imagine because that's
quite funny to me.
I feel like my guess is we've seen them as quite thin beams, so they obviously come like out of his pupil. Is the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. My reasoning would be his pupils have to open up to let them out, which lets more light in, which makes him more sensitive to light.
Yeah, it's just
it's just a funny looking thing. It's like, there is a much brighter light coming out of your face, but
it also makes for a funny idea of like, oh, so the biggest counter to not get lasered by him is shining a light at him. But actually that makes him more dangerous because then he just fucking flings his head around and just... And the chaos then after that of like, girl gets a hand skated over, which is like, I feel like a fear everybody has on the ice rink.
The number one reason I've never gone ice skating, and I never will, is my biggest fear is always, okay, people fall over ice skating all the time. That's not a big deal. That's how you learn to do it. Cool. But when you go to a public rink, there's already loads of people. If I get up too slowly or my hand slips a little bit, what stops someone just skating over my fucking hand and cutting my fingers off? And then this episode was like, yeah, that's exactly what would happen. And I'm like, they're professional fucking skaters. Fuck no.
Well, professional until those people start dying on the rink and it's just panic.
Everyone's professional until people get chopped in half, yeah.
Then the guy that like hops over the side and just like bicycle kicks at head height. Like, bro, why are you flicking your leg that high with ice skates on?
Just absolute bloodbath.
It was so like, all I was waiting for was like a Zamboni to be going around and someone panics and gets off it and just leaves it running and it hits someone.
Yeah. Incredibly fast thinking from Mother's Milk though to blind him.
Yeah.
Really, really good. A Train to the rescue though. A Train hero arc, actual hero arc.
I don't think hero arc. I think A-Train is going to turn and he's just. I think A-Train's going to be done with the shit of Vought. And I think he wants out, but he realizes he's not going to be able to just walk away.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
I think he might realize he's going to have to help the boys take down the Seven from with, like, help them take down the Seven so that he has then a way out. If that makes
Help me
sense.
help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, unless something comes along and he suddenly shits himself and goes back to being Homelander's little boy.
I've got a feeling we're gonna get another double switch. I think towards the end of the season, he's gonna get caught out again. And somehow he's gonna talk his way out of it again and not get murdered by Homelander. And then he will turn for the final time in season 5 and actually help take down Homelander. And then just use that
Possibly.
as like a use that as like an immunity card. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit, cool, whatever. I helped you stop someone who's far more dangerous. I won't use my powers ever again. I'm just going to go live my life. Please leave me alone.
Yeah, possibly that. Or we could, like, it could be the fact that he does turn and tries to play double agent, gets caught, and he just gets killed.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
A
it's the
Train as
boys.
some A Train being the person who literally started this entire story from our point of view.
Yeah,
Because we are following Huey for the most part.
yeah.
And him being the person who killed Huey's girlfriend. Him dying, like, saving Huey. Like, or it could be like a mirroring of that scene of him saving Huey, where he saves Huey again and Homelander kills him.
Possibly, yeah.
But I think the big thing in this episode was more the Victoria Newman president, singer, let's get rid of all the soups bullshit.
He no longer trusts her.
Well, I mean, we knew he didn't trust her. He's
Well,
just
yeah.
being a bit more obvious about how little he trusts her.
Well, yeah, he's like, you've had your chance to help me, but you failed at that, so now I don't trust you and I don't want you anymore. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Also, the whole, like, Ryan actually, the Mortal Kombat parody of it being.
I mean, it was definitely made in Mortal Kombat's engine because
like,
Lamplighter.
Yeah.
Lamplighter's moveset was one of the Mortal Kombat characters, and obviously Mortal Kombat had Homelander in the game.
Oh yeah, so it probably was.
So I think they did get them to mock up these characters.
Wouldn't surprise
just
me.
as like skins for 2 of the characters that exist in the game, so that they had like a because normally video games in TV shows are dog shit if you put any focus on them. If they're on the TV in the background, it's fine, but if you put any focus on them, they come across as dog shit. This one came across as pretty authentic, and I think that is literally just because it was reskinned Mortal Kombat.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't even surprise me if they, like, essentially put together like a cinematic sequence where it was all controlled in the animations just for them to have. But yeah, I thought that was funny, talking up a game chat to get Ryan to go see Butcher. And we got Butcher opened up a little bit, and Ryan, as we hoped, showed that he is realizing his dad's a piece of shit.
Yeah. His dad honestly could have got away with all of the shit he's putting Ryan through if he was just a little bit more aware of the world.
Yeah.
But Ryan being upset that he accidentally killed someone and him going, "You shouldn't care," is actually what's cost him his son here.
Yeah.
If he'd have just gone, "Yeah, I know, but we're more important than them and mistakes happen and it's okay. You did good," I think he could have like swayed Ryan. But him just going, "You shouldn't care," is like the wrong way to go about it to get Ryan to stay on his side.
Yeah, and Butcher realizing he was opening up more, and him feeling the need to like want to open up more. He then obviously got rid of them cookies. Realized, actually, no, I'm not going to do it the shitty way. I'm going to do this, try and be the proper way. So when Ryan goes home, Dad waiting on the couch. Where have you been, son? loses it. He's full on having a breakdown.
Yeah,
Um, that I think has almost certainly cemented he's losing. Like he's pushed Ryan too much now.
absolutely.
I think what might happen, and whether it's this season or next season, Butcher's gonna take his shot at Homelander because he's like, I'm running out of time till I'm dead. Screw it. I'm gonna take a half-assed shot because it's all I've got left. Fail. Homelander's gonna kill him in front of Ryan or something, and that's gonna flip Ryan to be like,
Oh, it's going to be a Palpatine Skywalker moment.
hmm,
Is the best way I can describe it. It's going to be Homelander and Butcher fighting, and then Ryan going, "Oh shit, no, I disagree with that," and stopping Homelander.
yeah, I think
We might get that at the end of this season, and then get Ryan on the boys' team for season
possibly.
5 potentially. It's really funny though because I always feel so bad for child actors because it's rough, like growing up on camera.
Hmm.
You can hear his voice is developing mid-season though. That must have been like mega props to him because I know every man I've ever known is proper self-conscious when their voice is going through that phase.
Yep.
And he's worn it like a champ. The kid uploads a lot of TikToks, and he's mocking his own voice in the
Nice.
series. He's like, "Who is that squeaky motherfucker?" And he's like, "That was a dog shit haircut. I'm so upset with that haircut." It's like, you know what? Fair play for rolling with that because you're a better person than me. I wouldn't have been confident when my voice was super squeaky.
Yeah. To be fair, it helps play into that character of being like
Yes.
unsure of the world. Was very like he was brought up in isolation.
Yeah.
And then like
and then all of a sudden your dad's a superhero.
And you're in the spotlight and then you're realizing your dad's a bit of a piece of shit. It's just like, oh
It's been a busy like 2 years for Ryan. He's gone from living alone with his mum to mum is dead, dad was trying to marry a Nazi, dad basically is a Nazi. The man I did like is now my enemy. The man I didn't like is now my dad, and I don't really know what's going on, and I'm scared and confused.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You got to feel for the kid, you really do.
Yeah.
But I'm going back to Homelander's breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
Based on the teaser trailer for episode 4, it looks like he's going back home.
Well, yeah, that, and also the mirror scene, right? Because
Yeah.
like they're saying we need to go back home and
yeah. So it looks like in episode 4 that is what's going to happen. It looks like he goes to the lab where they like experimented on him as a child. So we're going to see the making of Homelander. No doubt in my mind we're going to get some flashbacks.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
they're probably going to be brutal based on what the boys have already been willing to show.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's still Vought people that work there and he's going through flashbacks and has a bit of a PT. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends with like he absolutely just decimates that lab.
Bloodbath, yeah. But on slightly different news, less about the show, but still tangentially related.
Okay.
Conservatives have realised they're the butt of the joke, and they're not happy.
Have they realised, though?
Yes, they have, because a lot of right-wing people are now pretending they never liked the boys and it's always been dog shit.
Ah.
I'm not being funny.
Go on.
How can you claim to be intelligent and be right about such important issues when you don't realise for 4+ years that you're the butt of the joke?
Well, here's the thing. It's not even that just they're the butt of the joke. Everyone in that show is the butt of the joke. Both sides. Just one side more than the other.
Yeah, but like they genuinely thought Homelander was supposed to be a good guy. And only when Eric Kripke comes out and goes, if you think, like a direct quote from Eric Kripke is, if you think Homelander's the good guy, and then it just says in like brackets, like he throws his arms up in the air, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. And that's why a lot of people have finally realised it when the creator goes, no, that's the bad guy, you should want him to lose.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, no, Homelander's based. What?
Well, yeah, because there is still some people that haven't clicked because they think Starlight is like this terrible, like
crazy.
yeah, it's wild that they're like, look, this is what the left is doing to the country, and it's like, this is what you're all becoming, and it's haha, it's funny because they're pointing the jokes at you guys, and you don't realize, and it's like, excuse me, mate, I think you're the one who doesn't realize.
But is that not also more scary because the right wing feel like they've been faithfully represented in this show enough to the point where they're like, I know that's me and I'm still good?
Yeah, but that's
Is that not almost scarier?
yes, but also that is the world we live in, where often those people are um misinformed and have been misinformed for several years to the point where they think they're informed, but they're just not educated on those matters correctly. And
Um,
yeah, it's going to be
it's
funny to see
crazy.
how what else is kind of like portrayed in the show, and if it makes them more and more of them be like, I'd like to think some of them maybe it opens their eyes
Yeah.
to be like, hang
It's
on, the way
really
they're manipulating their supporters, maybe that's what the government's doing to us. But I don't know if
like,
they're wise enough to pick up
do
on.
you know what it is? They view the show as not woke, or before this season they viewed it as not woke because they point at like Vought doing like their rainbow capitalism in like season 3 with Maeve.
Yeah,
It's like, do you not understand that that makes the show more woke because it's criticizing rainbow capitalism?
yeah.
It's not saying gay people are wrong. It's saying companies like pretending to support LGBT issues
Well,
when
it's
they
the month
don't
it's
actually
important.
care.
Yeah.
That's what it's taking the mick out of.
Mhm.
It's not supporting like true, let's care about one another and let's try and work together. It's taking the mick out of everything bad and perverted about companies and capitalism and the right wing. That's the thing, and they just don't get it. And the other bit is a lot. This is a take I'm seeing a lot, which is so funny. The
Okay.
Boys is many things. It is
Mhm.
not subtle.
No.
Like it bashes you over the fucking head with the point it's trying to make. And a lot of people who've realised that the right wing are the bad guys in this have gone, oh, seasons 1 through 3 of the Boys were so subtle, but now you can just see how they're trying to be so blatant. There's no intelligence to the writing anymore. It's like my brother in Christ. They have been about as subtle as a ton of bricks since episode 1. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
I will admit this season they've definitely ramped it up a bit, but I feel like that's also come from the fact that they were like smacking you on the head with it, and some people weren't getting it, so they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we're just going to literally shove it in your face, like.
Do you know what I think the difference is? It's not that they're actually being less subtle, because I don't think you could be less subtle. It's because they're drawing the parallels to very much real life aspects.
It becomes more realistic and more
It's
noticeable.
easier to notice it.
Mm.
Which I don't think it is any more or less subtle. It's just the thing that they're taking the piss out of is happening in the real world at the
Yeah, I would agree.
exact same
Yeah.
time. So more people who couldn't notice it before have gone and
Yeah.
finally got it. It's
Yeah.
like the light bulb finally dings on
That's
moment.
that's it. They're not being less subtle. They've just closed the gap to like a real world comparison to try and help those people notice it
Yeah,
quicker.
exactly. It's insanity.
Yeah.
This I'm loving the shows we're getting this month, but
Oh yeah.
the toxicity around it all on Twitter is
Both
rough.
shows.
Yes. And on that segue, let's move on to the Acolyte episode 4. Far too short. I'm gonna say it off rip. From start to finish, it's like 28 minutes. Not
half an hour.
not enough happens. There's only 8 episodes of the Acolyte.
I'm okay. I mean, we knew it was going to be like this. I get your. It did. I think it felt shorter than it maybe would have done because of how quick things kind of suddenly ramped at the end, and they ended on like quite a cliffhanger. So it felt very abrupt, and I think that made it feel shorter. Like I don't know, because I looked at the time and I was like, ah, it's been a half an hour episode. Obviously, give or take a bit, but like I was like, that's fine.
I understand that. My big issue is we are halfway through the season now, and I understand it's a mystery, so we're not supposed to know everything straight away. It should be like, oh, this makes sense in like the last 2 episodes.
Mm.
But I feel like not a lot has happened in 4 episodes.
It's definitely been.
Like 3 of the Jedi they're trying to kill are dead, and we've only seen one fight.
Yeah. I mean, we were about to get a really sick fight, and then it ended.
When like the entire story is about May is trying to kill the 4 Jedi who she views as the reason that her family fell apart, and 3 of them are now dead. We got a fight scene for the very first one, which was the first scene of the show. Other one drank poison, and the third one is just a dead body we find, which was a Wookiee Jedi, for fuck's sake. They've robbed us of that.
They
I'm
did.
just a little bit like, so what are these next 4 episodes? Do you know what I
So
mean?
I think we've been kind of thinking it's going to be about like her hunting these Jedi down. I think the whole time it's been more of a focus on a mystery on what happened so long ago and who this Sith guy is. I actually think this story is gonna. I think the Jedi are gonna think they've won in the end, but I think we're only gonna get a very loose tease of who the actual person really behind the scenes was pulling the strings. This Sith guy isn't actually gonna be the true one
I don't
that's
believe so, no.
um but I mean overall like the episode fell short, but I did enjoy this episode. I like that we're getting a bit more of a clues, I guess, or like thoughts onto who the Sith guy is. Because my opinion is it's Kymer, the guy that's with May.
Yeah. But with how mysterious they're trying to make everything, that would seem very obvious. I would actually be a bit disappointed if that was the case now, because he's almost there like a massive red herring.
So it's either going to go two ways. It's either he is meant to feel like, oh, that was very weird of an episode where he so many things pointed and then he conveniently isn't there when the bad guy shows up. Um, Either they're doing that to try and throw us off the scent of who it could actually be, or in what is pretty typical Star Wars fashion, the Sith look at Palpatine, like to be in plain sight, pretend like they're not anything to do with being the guy, and are actually the one in charge, like the one pulling the
Mm.
strings. There was a lot of things that kind of point to it being potentially him. The fact that like he'd already been to the planet and found Karnaka would mean he would have been able to get. If he's a strong force user, he gets out of that snare very quickly. He can get to where Karnaka's hut quicker than May can because he knows where it
Yeah.
is. Um, and the fact that she was then threatening she was going to explain everything, that's why he would go and kill her, kill Kanaka, kind of to almost try and frame her for doing it. The way he's like, if you think back to, I think was it episode 2 when they had the fight in the like she
Yeah.
in the alleyway, he was very quick and was able to defend himself against her, considering she's pretty good with the Force, and he's meant to be just some guy.
I think it's more likely
Um,
that the master is his apprentice.
I
And the master that she views is actually a middleman between them two. So he gets to not be the one giving her instructions, but he gets to watch her more closely.
I don't think so, just because timeline wise, it would be Plagueis or Tenebrous, and they are very unique
That's
alien
assuming they're
races.
Siths.
Yeah, this is
That's assuming
assuming
they're
the
Sith.
Siths. With everything I think we were told before the show, though, is that this is Sith. So if it's not, that is going to be the first thing that will annoy me with this show if they turn around and go, "Oh, this isn't Sith, by the way," even though all the
Did they
marketing.
confirm it? Did they
I
confirm
think
it's definitely Sith though, or was
I'm
it just
sure she
evil
said it.
Force user?
No, I'm sure she said this is like a Sith focused story because it's meant to be
I,
the
I'm
fall of the High Republic, which is the Sith did that. So I think my attitude is this is a guy that is an apprentice to Plagueis or something, whether it's Kymer or not. He is like all apprentices trying to gets greedy and wants to overpower their master. And I think using people and using May, he's thinking, I can use them to manipulate the Jedi, which is what my master wants me to do. And then and then if they're powerful, I can use them to overrule my master. I don't think he's going to be actually the main Sith guy that's in power at the moment, sneakily. And I think it could be it would kind of play into also like the Darth Jar Jar trope of being like bit clumsy, bit all over the place, but actually you're a dark Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Which I'm not against.
I want a bit more pace in these last 4 episodes. We spent 2 episodes getting up and running, which I'm absolutely fine with. Flashback episode, okay. You could have just got that through drip feeding. We're now halfway through, and I'm not invested in any one character that heavily because we've not had enough time with any of them. Don't get me wrong, the acting's great, the story's solid, but I feel like if you want to move at this speed, we probably needed 12 episodes.
Yeah, I guess it depends where they get like how. Because the way I see this happening, I'm fine with the flashback being 1 episode because they were clearly trying to show it just from May's, Osha's point of view. So that was very specific. Like, if you can't really drip feed that because it would get, I don't know, it just feels like it makes more sense to do that like that because they're trying to mess with us and seeing only one perspective. I was okay with this. I just would have preferred this episode to actually have had the fight. I feel like they should have kept the fight in this one because we were about to see they could have done this fight. Really, they're clearly going to show us how fucking powerful this Sith guy is. The fact that he just flicks Osha away, then force blasts like 6 of them.
Yeah, including the Jedi Master with ease is crazy.
So like he's clearly going to this fight's clearly going to show him like whooping ass. I think they should have done that, and then everyone would have been like, "Holy shit, who's this Sith guy?" Like he just absolutely wrecked. Like people would then be like, "Okay, this guy's for real." We're gonna clearly get an episode which actually shows at some point what happened with the witches, because in this episode, Sol says to Osha, "I'll explain everything later." So they clearly are hiding something. The fact that Kalnaka as well was inscribing the symbol all over the place in his base, clearly he's got some nightmare or PTSD from whatever happened that night.
Yeah. This is the thing, though. You're saying this. This fight and the aftermath of it will take up next episode.
Yeah.
You think we're going to get another episode that shows us what actually happened? That only leaves us 2 episodes to wrap up this end of the story.
Yeah, but I think all the wrap-up's going to be is... I think so my attitude is this Sith guy's going to get defeated and they're going to cover it up. I think that's how the story, like, they don't actually find out that. I think they defeat the Sith guy or work out who it is and defeat him. I think then the Jedi cover it up, which is why the High Council doesn't know about it, which is why in the prequels they're like, we haven't seen Sith in millennia. Also points to the Kidam Mundi line that everyone's up in arms about and complaining that he's in it. I'm fine with him being in it. People that are like, he shouldn't be alive. He wouldn't. There is no canon information about how old he was in the prequels and how old those.
Yeah, there's only Legends information, isn't there?
Yeah. The idea that he would then have and I get the whole thing of the line. Well, he has the line of, we haven't seen Sith in millennia. This is outrageous.
They called it a splinter order. They don't think it's Sith.
This is the thing. I think the people in that original council aren't going to actually ever, like, I think even they're not going to learn what actually has gone down. I think Sol and the greenskin lady, which I forget her name right now, I think they're going to, and the people at this place, I think this is going to be kept very tight-knit and covered up. Which would make sense why the Jedi then so I think there is enough time in this series to wrap all that up.
I'm skeptical. I think going from this guy kicking 6 Jedi's ass lightweight to we've defeated him and covered it up in 2 episodes time because you're losing an episode to a flashback in your head, I think is just a little bit like, oh, so he wasn't that powerful then. I think having someone kick ass and then get beaten less than an hour of showtime later is crazy. It's giving Power Rangers, and no villain in in an episode of Power Rangers ever felt that powerful unless they were the bad guy for the whole season who kept popping in and fucking shit up. And then, do you know what I mean? That's my concern. I don't want someone who seems powerful to just all of a sudden get taken down pretty easily.
It's either that, or if there is going to be a second season, they figure it out, but they don't get to defeat him.
Yes, that would make more sense to me. But that's my only concern. I feel like the current pacing is perfect for 12 episodes, but a bit slow for 4, maybe. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, because the next episodes could actually fit. They could be a bit longer.
Yes, exactly. There have been times where we thought the pacing's going to be fine, and they fuck it at the end. There's been times we've been worried about the pacing, and it's ended up being fine. It is wait and see, but that is always a thing that we do like to discuss.
There was the bit when the same race that is Plo Koon. I saw that and I was like, oh my god, is that Plo Koon?
Yeah,
immediately Googled.
I did the exact same thing.
I Googled, is that Plo Koon? And it was like, the first thing was like, is that Plo Koon in episode 4? No. I was like, okay, well, there's my answer.
Yeah, I saw him because he's such a distinctive alien. I was like,
he would be alive then as well.
Oh, really? Is that how old their race gets to?
Yeah, apparently he would be alive, but it isn't. He's just another one of them. The Ki-Adi-Mundi one, like, I get people being surprised. I think people need to chill out. It's not that deep.
It's a proper rogue Jedi to just have cutting about.
It is. It's one of them. Like, I get people being like, well, why would he share this line? One, we haven't seen the rest of the show. We don't know what other information he's going to get. From that one, like you say, the line of they go, oh, it could be a splinter organization. Maybe that's all he thinks it ever was.
Yeah, and if he never gets any more information.
Yeah, people jumping to conclusions too much because they're like, you've pulled a prequel one, and then they're up in arms. Also, I noticed that they mention in that they're like, oh, we can't tell the High Council. It's their way of being like, we haven't got the budget for Yoda. They're really making sure Yoda doesn't show up. But yeah, I think Kalnaka's definitely was racked with something.
It sucks that we're not going to get to see more of Kalnaka.
I think we get him in a flashback.
That's not the same.
It's not, but I think that flashback will show whatever fight went down at that temple. So maybe we'll get to see him fight a little bit. But yeah, I think something was same way that like Torben went, I'm putting myself in a meditative state as punishment. I think Kalnaka, his head was messed up, which is why he exiled himself to the forest.
Absolutely.
Them Umbra moths were creepy as fuck on the trees.
Yeah. Do you know what wasn't creepy as fuck and has been added onto the very cute Star Wars animal list? Basil.
Do you want to know a fun fact? Because I watched.
He's like a little otter dude.
Yeah, so I've watched breakdowns and stuff as well because I always do to get a bit more information on stuff I obviously don't. I only know so much Star Wars stuff. Apparently, they were in Legends, that race, as pretty solid, high diplomatic, like people. They have great like diplomatic knowledge and whatnot, and he's being used as a bloodhound.
That's really funny.
Which is like, sure, maybe they like some were maybe the idea is that some obviously were intelligent enough to be diplomatic people, but because that's the only other time they've been mentioned in like Legends, and I don't know if they've come back into canon. It's just funny for the fact that now in this they're used as like a bloodhound.
He is very cute though. Add him to the species of very, very cool things.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
I got very excited. I'm an absolute sucker for cute, weird alien races in Star Wars. Just like every time there's a new droid, I'm like, I will die for him.
Well. Fucking squirting him in the face is funny.
Yeah, so funny. But yeah, Ewoks, the ones from the fucking sequels. I can't pronounce.
Oh,
the little dudes.
Oh no,
Poggle.
Something like that.
You know, everyone knows the ones. and random little droids. I collect
Yeah.
them like trading cards. I'm like, I will protect all of you with my life. And then there's just Chopper sat next to me like a guard dog because he doesn't need protection. I need to protect others from him. Fucking war
I
criminal.
will say before we finish that the people that are still watching this and hating it,
Just
like,
stop. Save
just
yourself the headache.
yeah, get a fucking life. Also, to the people that obviously we talked last week about what complaints some people were complaining about it, and then there's more of the complaint that I've seen since then was the fact that, oh, they've made it so Anakin's not special anymore. Sorry, but boo-hoo. Like, cool, yeah, Anakin was meant to be the chosen one, and there's old legends theories that maybe it was like Palpatine created him. And it's like, if you want to go by that, then this makes sense, because if this is all linked into Palpatine and all the dark side, like, this is their first attempt at doing that, and then they figured out how to do it better and did Anakin. But they're like the complaints that, oh, this just takes away from Anakin being special, and oh, so apparently everyone can use the Force now. It's like, you clearly just don't get that this is a different period of time.
Yeah. But also, like, the entire Star Wars legend and mythos is very much, yes, everyone can use the Force in theory.
Yeah.
It's just your midichlorians need to be high enough to do it. To the level of a Jedi. Just because Jedi are like, say, have a limit of 5,000, I'm not saying that's what it is, but say, there's still going to be a bunch of people who sit below that who will have a bit of that power, but aren't powerful enough without training to be worried about. That's where all these witches could sit.
Yeah.
Bar like one or two.
Oh, that
you know
was
what I mean?
someone was like, "Oh, they're witches," and what we know of witches, they use magic, not the Force. It's like, no, you're thinking of the witches of Dathomir. These aren't the witches of Dathomir.
Yeah,
They've
they
called
made that
themselves
very clear.
witches. Like, people are just like, they see something, run with it, don't care to look into it, and they're like, "This shows shit," and it's like, oh, just. And then there's like the other thing I saw is Kathleen Kennedy made some. I mean, she is the worst part about Star Wars at Disney. Don't get me wrong, but she already has less control than she used to. She made some comment in an interview like, "Oh, it's 2024. We should move away from the words such as the light side and the dark side, because basically trying to be like, it sounds racist saying it that way." To which obviously, understandably, all the fans are like, "What the fuck? I've never thought of it that way."
No,
Also,
it's
but then the fans being like, "Oh my god, Disney are changing it from being light side and dark side. What the fuck?" It's like, no, that's not going to fucking happen, because Dave Filoni is the head of creative, and you think him or George is going to let that actually get changed? You're having a joke.
Do you know what? Do you know what it needs? And it sucks that we have to say this. It needs George Lucas to just go on his Twitter and just go, "I fucking love the Acolyte. Stop. Keep my name out your motherfucking mouth if you're trying to talk shit." Because the amount of people who are like, George would hate this. Like, he's dead and he has no. Like, we know Dave answered a lot of questions, and we know Dave and George are like best buds when it comes to nerding out over this shit. There is no way they would have done something in this that George's like, that is abhorrent.
Yeah, we know Dave Filoni sees like oversees all this stuff. If there was something that really broke the story, he wouldn't have let it pass. So yeah, I think I'd love to see George Lucas come out and go, "Yeah, I'm like, Acolyte's great. I think it's cool that they're expanding into the High Republic." Do you know what would happen? People would be like, "Oh my god, Disney's got to George." Like,
Do you know what the,
they'd suddenly no longer believe his word, and it's.
do you know what the worst bit is though? Of all of the writers who've worked on Star Wars, George Lucas is probably one of the worst. Because as we've discussed, he is a visual mastermind when it comes to making films. But as a script writer,
Oh,
he was not good.
visual mastermind, great world builder, not the best script writer.
Yes.
But
And we
like,
know this because in the prequels, it was basically just him and the dialogue was shit. In the original trilogy, when it was okay, do you know what he had? One of the best script doctors in Hollywood history playing the main character of Princess Leia.
yeah,
Carrie
totally.
Fisher is like one of the was one of the most loved script doctors in the world. They would have a script, they'd send it to her, and she would fix it up so it actually was even better. That was what she spent a lot of her time doing when she wasn't in the middle of a project of her own. She probably started doing that on Star Wars. And that's probably why them initial scripts were better than the ones we got in the prequels, because George had Carrie there going, that makes no fucking sense, George.
Yeah. We obviously we spend a lot of time ragging on the heroes, but I think the people that they want more Star Wars, but then they complain anytime we venture into a new period of Star Wars. Like, this isn't going to stop. We're going to keep seeing new periods of time. And that's going to mean there is a lot of creative freedom. And maybe they make some decisions you disagree with. But it's still all Star Wars and it's still pretty fucking cool. Just enjoy it. It's not that deep.
Watch what you like, and if you don't like it, stop watching it.
Yeah.
If you've watched 4 episodes of The Acolyte now and all you can do is bitch and moan, at this point, seek mental help. If you can't just go, you know what, this show isn't for me, and turn it off.
Yeah, if you're like, this is ruining everything I love, and it's like, Star Wars is your entire personality and how you live your life, I'm sorry. Touch grass.
And we have a podcast where we spend 2 hours a week
Yeah.
talking about nerdy shit, and we're saying that. Come on, get a grip. Get a grip. Right, let's do something a little bit different and new.
Yeah, we're absolutely stacked with shows.
Yes. Favorite cinema moments.
So what we're
gonna do is, yes, we're gonna go through like 2 or 3 of our like favorite cinema moments. So like a scene or a shot, and why we like them. It's not that these necessarily come from good films or great films, or even necessarily from films we like, because there are some films I dislike that have cool shots in them. But these are just like individual shots or scenes that we're just like, you know what? Chef's kiss. I've gone pretty basic. I don't know if we'll do this again in the future. But none of these are probably going to be like, oh, I've never thought about that before. But these are just some of the first ones that came to my mind.
Okay.
I will start off with my first and we'll alternate.
Sure.
Awesome. So my first one, I feel like I've spoken about this before. But I think about this scene. You know these tweets that I think about this twice a day? I genuinely think about this scene multiple times a week. This scene has lived rent-free in my mind since the first minute I saw it. And I don't think it'll ever leave my mind. It is genuinely one of my favourite scenes in cinema ever.
Okay.
The Ascension scene in Into the Spider-Verse.
I forgot about Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. The use of the music. This film has a phenomenal soundtrack. But the use of this music, What's Up Danger, as well as inverting the image after he's jumped off the building so it shows him rising to the challenge and the demand of being Spider-Man, it is literally the definition of cinema. No one, like, at that moment was when I was like, we are in the beginnings of animation getting treated respectfully in cinema, because no live action production has ever made me feel the way that scene does. To this day, like, this is very much content creator brain. Every time I hear that song, because a lot of the songs from that soundtrack are on my playlists because it's such a good soundtrack. But anytime What's Up Danger comes on, I'll be driving and I have to really focus. Otherwise, I'll just start replaying that scene in my mind. I love that scene with all my heart and I will never ever shut up about it. It is the absolute pinnacle of cinema.
It is so well done.
Phenomenal. It's a masterpiece.
Right, I have a question about this as well.
Okay.
Is this only stuff we've seen in the cinema, or is this just stuff we've seen in films?
Seen in films. If the film came out in the 60s before I was born and you were kicking about,
all right,
and then you only see it years later, it absolutely still counts.
Oh God, that makes this even harder. I'm gonna do one that you will probably also like. Yeah, childhood. Honestly, the end of the Transformers film where Optimus Prime starts doing his speech and Linkin Park starts playing, and say what you want about those films, and they might not be the most amazing cinema, but for whatever reason, that final moment when that music kicks in, I think all of our generation are like, we could run through a brick wall for Optimus Prime.
Yes. Yes. No, you are spot on. That kind of scene is exactly what I want this kind of concept to be. It's not necessarily about being a great film, but that is just one of them moments that just etches in your mind forever. It comes up on TikTok once a month for
Yeah,
me,
it does.
and I do every single time I have to watch it. The voice of Optimus Prime is iconic. The monologue itself is actually beautifully written, and the way the music just cuts into it is phenomenal. And that scene, ironically, now that you've said it, is one of the first scenes that made me realise how much a good monologue in film, TV, anything is second to none.
Yeah.
Giving an actor a prolonged period of time to portray an emotion is phenomenal. It's the same kind of reason I love long individual takes. It's because it
Yes.
gives you the same thing but more in a physical way instead of a dialogue way.
Yep.
And it's just monologues are brilliant.
My favorite thing from like, because our generation love that scene,
Mm-hmm.
is people now on like other films being like, if this film came out in 2000 and they
If
played
Michael
Linkin
Bay
Park,
made this film in 2008,
and it's like it just plays Linkin Park over whatever the final scene of the film is, and it always works so well.
It is a trope I would love to see happen in more films. The main character surmising what's happened in the film, or like where everyone is at the end of the film, with a little montage that cuts into a Linkin Park style. Phenomenal. Yes, give it to me. All of it. Right, next up. My other two are ones I know you haven't seen.
Okay.
So that I knew you wouldn't pick them.
Okay.
One of these I've spoken about at great length before, so you will not be surprised once I start talking.
Right.
Harley Quinn fight scene in James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, this scene is when Harley gets her own kind of hallway fight scene, which we've come to know from like Daredevil. But we experience it in like a shared insanity with her, and anything that is bloody or gory is replaced with pretty flowers and rainbows and unicorns and stuff. And it creates such a juxtaposition with the beautiful visuals of the scene, because it's also pretty and light and beautifully coloured and saturated with colour, while also having really brutal but very well put together fight choreography. And also it gives us that view into Harley's insanity and how she views the world. The closest you can get to what I'm talking about is in Kamiko in episode 3 of The Boys.
Yes.
When Frenchie's high and he starts seeing like confetti and stuff. Imagine that, but dialed up to 11.
I think
it doesn't cut back to the bloody stuff. It is phenomenal. Again, that scene is one of the reasons I love James Gunn's Suicide Squad so much, because it's an artistic decision. And I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I need people to just start going, fuck what you already know about cinema. I'm going to make a bold artistic decision and we'll see if it works. And this is one of the ones that I'm like, very, very good. Enjoyed it a lot. 10 out of 10.
Now, my next one, I have in my head that you haven't seen this film. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It's Interstellar.
I haven't seen Interstellar.
I thought so. So there's
it's been on my watch list for about 1 million years.
There's two moments. One that both stick out. One is like the final scenes. So I don't want to mention that because I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't want to risk spoiling it because it is quite like visual. Yeah. It's more so a visual, like just effect that they did, and then it kind of like loops the story in and stuff. The one that you might know of is the Years of Messages scene. So after they've come back off the planet that's moves slower, the moment where they like sit down or they get back to the ship, like that scene of them arriving back at the ship where they think they've only been 20 minutes and it's been several years, and the guy on the ship is like, holy shit, you guys are alive. And then there's this realization of like, wait, it's been years. Then they sit down at the computer and they realize they have years of messages from their kids. And the main character, he's sat there and he's just like watching video after video as his daughter's growing up, and she's been sending these messages. And all of this, like,
is that the planet where the soundtrack behind it has a rhythmic bumping, and every single like thing is a year passing?
Yeah, but you don't.
Yes, I've heard about this scene. Yeah,
it's just like that moment when you're watching it, and the viewer is realizing what's happened, because the scene before that was very intense for like 10 minutes, and then it all just hits you, and you're like, holy shit, Like they are fucking with stuff that they're venturing into stuff they just don't know, and you start to realize the scale of what actually has been happening, and like it's just so well done. That whole film's amazing. But yeah, Interstellar is like one that like really sticks in the mind.
Absolutely. This is one I know you haven't seen. I won't say too much to avoid spoilers because I know you want to see Dune Part 2.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but the final kind of fight scene of the film
right.
is, I think, really interesting, and I've tried to make these all different
Mm,
in like the reasons they're in the list, but throughout the film, all culminating to this moment, there's lots of strands, and obviously there's lots of characters in the Dunes films, and they all have their own story they're following, and it's a really interesting moment because a lot of people don't like callback culture,
mm,
and this film does it in a way that isn't obviously callback.
right.
But what it does is throughout this scene, you feel the decisions made throughout it that have led here. You feel the weight of them all at once.
Mm,
It's like every like insignificant decision that you've spotted and you've remembered throughout the film.
yeah.
All of a sudden, it feels like this moment just goes, and now it's almost like you just see like the web explode in front of you,
Oh
and you
yeah.
see how everything is weaved together, as well as having a phenomenally powerful choreography of the fight scene itself.
Mm,
And the way that moment takes you using like this web of decisions to see and almost be reminded in an instant where Paul started to where he is now
mm.
is some of the most powerful visual storytelling I've seen in the way it all went together, and I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, I still need to go watch them.
Yes, they are. They are incredibly good. And don't get me wrong, I know I said these don't need to be good films, so I've chosen 3 films that I objectively do say are very good. But you nailed the essence of this with the Transformers closing credits scene, because that is exactly what this is about.
I'm gonna change actually this and on the spot. It was more so one I thought of, but I was like, meh. But the way you mentioned it at the beginning with like it can just be visual, not just necessarily like a certain
No,
scene or moment. You're gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna say the original Avatar film.
no, that's absolutely based.
Because
That's
I
absolutely
think
based.
I agree with you that the story is pretty simple, but from like the creative in me, the leap and the visual achievements they did in that film, and I am more than okay with the fact that it is just a 3-hour showcase of what Weta can do.
Yes,
I
my
think those films just visually push the boundaries and are stunning.
I've said it before. I kind of overcorrect my opinion on
Yeah.
Avatar to counterbalance people who think it's a masterpiece all round.
Mm.
In reality, my opinion of it is a incredible 3-hour tech demo.
Yeah.
Nothing more. It's Pocahontas in space. It's
Yeah.
not impressive storytelling. It's impressive visuals. I will die on that hill. The problem is the amount of people who go, "Oh no, it's one of the best films of all time." As a result, I feel I need to just go, "It's dog shit," and that is a
I get
personal
it. I
flaw of
do get it.
mine. But it's like if you're going to go around saying it's great, there needs to be another person going around saying it's
Yeah.
dog shit,
I
so
know,
that
I get
people
that.
get a better expectation of what they're about to see.
I have honorable mentions and
Okay,
some that I obviously the one that originally was on my list, which I felt was an easy one to pick, was Spider-Man: No Way Home when the OGs come in.
okay.
Or Far From Home.
I have a Spider-Man one as well.
Is it the Upside Down Kiss?
No, it is not.
Oh.
It is from the Raimi trilogy.
Is it the one where he comes
In
out the back doing the thrusts?
no, Spider-Man 2. When
Okay.
we get the shot of the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses, and you get like the long panning shot from the back of Peter's head in the restaurant with Harry, and it
Mm.
like zooms out and then pans around, and you realise you're actually watching the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses.
Oh.
Phenomenal.
Mirror tricks like that are always so good.
I loved it so much. I love it now. I don't. It's one that like a lot of people do forget about because it's not like one that comes back up a lot.
Mm.
But that's a Sam Raimi classic.
Yeah.
And it's one of them things that I think gives a lot of flavour to films. We need more people. We need 3 directors on every film.
Okay.
We need an action director, we need a story director, and we need a visual director. And I know what people are going to say. That's what writers are for, and that's what cinematographers are for. The problem is the director can like override them if they decide. I need them to not be able to tell the cinematographer no if the cinematographer's got an idea for an awesome shot.
Some directors are good at this, but they will have the head stunt coordinator essentially manages all the action in the film.
Yes,
And
that's
like
what we need.
that needs to become the standard, and then to trust, like, put these people in that were stuntmen or stunt women that have become head stunt coordinators
Horrid,
need to be in charge of
should we
action.
become a producer team and just build the ultimate director of like a stunt coordinator, a camera dude, and a story guy? And just like with the 3 of you and our producing, we will create the greatest director the world has ever known.
Another honorable mention:
Yeah,
the snap moment in Infinity War.
yeah. I've got one that's very similar to that.
Okay.
In the way it makes you feel. So we'll discuss the feeling of these together. Yeah. It is the test nuke in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Where you lose the audio and then it all comes rushing back in.
Yeah.
These 2 scenes, and people are going to lose their mind. I'm comparing Christopher Nolan to Infinity War here, but fuck it, let's fight. Them 2 scenes are literally designed to create that same feeling. You get the big moment of the bomb goes off and the snap happens.
Yeah.
And then alongside all the characters, you're instantly just like, you're just waiting. You're just hanging, it feels like in midair, for hours, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. And then it all kicks in.
Yeah, I think Oppenheimer being a bit more dramatic and artsy, I don't know if that's the right word, but we'll go with artsy, elongates that moment even longer.
Yes.
Infinity War being more of an action focus, doesn't let that moment sit for quite as long. Mm-hmm. But they're both going for that same idea of that, just you as the viewer, you just feel like you're floating in midair, not knowing what direction's what, just waiting to be told what's about to happen.
Mm.
And I completely agree that it's a masterful scene, that moment of just, oh shit. It's that oh shit. And you can feel it in the cinema.
Yeah, everyone's like, especially for like the snap, which is like years of this build up of what the Infinity Gauntlet is, and then we find out what it's going to be used for, and then it's like, and then it happens. You're like, and then it feels like nothing's happening, and then when the first person like crumbles, and you're like, wait, and then it starts being like certain superhero, and you're like, wait, no, oh shit, this is all just
because who is it? One of the characters just turns and goes, "Did we just lose?" I think it might be Star-Lord or something, but it's crazy. It's so good, so good. I love cinema. Forget like good stories. Good stories are great. They will always exist in a million different mediums. The power of cinema to create these moments that linger in your mind forever is just insane. I love it so much.
There's also on my honorable mentions is the car scene in Baby Driver. I think it's the opening one.
Yeah.
With the music.
That's a phenomenal
like that's just so well done with the music to the action.
Mm-hmm. Edgar Wright is one of my absolute goats.
So
I love his match cuts that he's so well known for. And he uses them so well. Yeah, so let us know down below what one of your favourite cinema moments is of all time.
Yeah.
Let us know what moment you cannot get out of your head no matter how much you try. For me, it's Ascension. For Horry, it's the Transformers exit. What is it for you? What scene plays in your mind 24 hours a day like a psychopath? Right.
Nerdy news.
We've got a pretty chill one this week. There's not actually too much drama, which is actually quite nice. It's just
nice
news.
Change. Yeah.
Eric Kripke, the showrunner for The Boys, has called for Emmy Awards for Anthony Starr's performance as Homelander, especially after episode 4 of this season. Now, we're recording this on Wednesday. Episode 4 hasn't been out yet for us.
This is true.
But Eric Kripke said, if you think Anthony Starr's good now, and we all do, he should have already won awards. After watching episode 4, give this man an award. By the sounds of it, Anthony Starr, who has done a phenomenal job throughout this entire show as Homelander and does absolutely deserve his flowers. If Eric Kripke, who's been working on the show since day one, is like episode 4, Anthony is just the best he's ever been. I'm very excited to watch this episode.
Same. I saw this and I was like, oh, we're in for a treat with episode 4 then.
Exactly that. It's going to be very, very good. And I cannot wait to see what we get from it. Slightly sadder news. Well, sadder when I wrote it. It's good news now, or better news. The GOAT, Sir Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Has accidentally hurt himself in a stage show in London after falling off a stage. The heartbreaking bit of news which I saw was apparently people in the front row, or a couple of rows back, heard him screaming, "Ow, my arms, help me," which apparently left a lot of patrons really upset.
Well, so apparently he fell on the front row.
Was it on the front row? So he didn't fall in the gap?
So it's a smaller theatre, and apparently it was like he misstepped at the edge, lost his footing, whatever, and fell onto the people on the front row. So I mean, imagine being that person to have Ian McKellen just fall onto you. But then, I imagine if you're falling onto like the chairs and stuff, and you trap your arm in the wrong way, like it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
According to the statement they put out, like he's fractured his wrist, but he's of good spirit, and he's looking forward to get
there was
back.
a tweet out on his Twitter account today, which is good. It's written like it's from him. I assume his account is managed.
Well, yeah, he'll have said it to someone to.
Yeah. So what he said was, "I want to thank everyone for their kind messages and support. Since the accident during a performance of Player Kings last night, my injuries have been diagnosed and treated by a series of experts, specialists and nurses working for the National Health Service. Shout out the NHS. To them, of course, I'm hugely indebted. They have assured me that my recovery will be complete and speedy, and I'm looking forward to returning to work." That was really scary, though, when I opened Twitter and I just saw Sir Ian McKellen rushed to hospital. My heart has never sunk so fast.
Ian McKellen falling off stage, and I'm like, let's be honest, Ian McKellen is not young.
Yeah.
Elderly people on big falls, like, break a hip, you break something serious, like that is a long road of recovery.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, please no. But then the fact that it was just a fractured wrist, and it wasn't like it was like a slight, obviously he fell off stage, is pretty bad, but like not as bad as it could have been at like a bigger theatre. Yeah, thankful that the man's all right.
And the man is such a true performer. That he's like, I'll be back soon, don't worry. You got to love the fact that at his age. Yeah, exactly. This is the point. At his age, he's still acting in stage shows. This is Ian McKellen, for fuck's sake. This man is a superstar.
Well, that's the thing,
and he's like, I will do any stage show you give me.
He loves theatre so much, like he'll do any. And it's like, it's only a few films that he will now come back to cinema for.
Yeah. Well, he said he'd come back and play Gandalf.
Yeah, so he was like, he's like, I'll always come back as Gandalf as long as they want me.
Yeah.
That's how he worded
Someone asked him about the recent one. He was like, if I'm still alive, I'll do it. Which was really sad. I never ever want to hear him talk about death. God, if you take Sir Ian McKellen, I will come up there myself and fight you.
It's going to be a sad day.
It will be the saddest of days. But that day is not today. He is healing well. Sean Levy, director of the Deadpool films, has shown interest in doing a Deadpool and Spider-Man film. This has been reached some mixed reactions on the internet. Okay. So, ironically, Deadpool's first 2 films have been around long enough now that the internet has flipped and decided they hate Deadpool, which has happened in the last few weeks. It always happens. So I saw someone tweet a Deadpool and a Tom Holland, Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, Deadpool and Spider-Man film sounds like the most insufferable thing ever. Cool. What? I don't know. What I will say is, there's a very artistic way to do this. You shoot this film, and you do a Deadpool edit and a Spider-Man edit.
Okay.
So the parents who will just take their kids to see a film like Spider-Man's name in it and not think, can't complain if they're idiots and take their kid to the Deadpool edit. That's going to be rude and rated R. And then you have the safe edit, which is Spider-Man edit, which will have comedy in it, obviously, but they'll cut around stuff to make it seem a little bit funky, and then you get to watch them both if you want to, and you're like, cool, it's the same story, everything, all the beats are the same, but one of them is Deadpool being Deadpool, and one of them is Spider-Man like censoring Deadpool, and I think there is an artistic value to that.
Probably. I just want them to do it R-rated, and the parents that complain, the internet will laugh at them for taking their kids to an R-rated film because they should have known better.
But the problem is, and I do think there is a little bit of validness to a parent feeling safe taking their child to see a film that's Spider-Man in the title. I do think there's a bit of validity to that. Don't get me wrong, parents should absolutely check what they're buying tickets to. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but there are certain things that I don't like. When I see it, I'm like, I can see how a parent got confused there, but it's important to do your own research. The ones that piss me off when parents took their kids to see the first and second Deadpool film,
it's like, Marvel film.
Okay, but do your fucking research. But if Spider-Man's in the title, I can, like a grandparent especially, you could see how they can fall for that.
Do you know what they should do? They should just call it a Deadpool film.
And just have Tom Holland rock up.
And just, and do the thing where like they have to swap suits or whatever. And it's actually just a Deadpool film, but he's just in Spider-Man suit for the whole time.
That would be really funny.
So Tom Holland shows up at like the beginning, and for some reason he can't be Spider-Man, so then Deadpool's doing it. And the film is just Deadpool as Spider-Man.
But yeah, so that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a validity to it, but it'd be a difficult one to make work for sure. Jordan Peele has released the date for his next film. He says it'll be coming out October 23rd, 2026 via a cryptic tweet, which was just like a red and whitish poster with the date on it. With the news that Jordan Peele had met with Marvel and that the Blade director has left the project, I am going to huff all of the copium I can get my hands on and say that is going to be revealed at D23 as the new Blade release date.
I mean,
how hype would that be? Imagine me and you were keeping it on D23 and we see that Blade's been pushed back to October 23rd, 2026. Do you not lose your mind?
Do you know what would be funny is if they show that exact same image, that same font or whatever, and it's the date again, and we're like, wait a second, that's the same font, wait. And it's the same date.
Like, how hype would that be?
I mean,
I don't think it is, but I'm going to keep huffing that code.
But there is a possibility there, right? We know he met about X-Men and it didn't work, and then very shortly after, there's the news that the Blade, like, there's nothing to say that after that they were like, hang on, we've just met with Jordan Peele, bring him back up.
There is no such thing as a coincidence.
Like,
it's massive copium. I don't expect it to happen, but you best believe if it does happen, I'm going to point back at this moment and go, I'm a genius. I called it.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
It'd be so right. Anyway, Charlie Cox has confirmed that fans who love Daredevil's now iconic one-shot fight scenes won't be disappointed by Daredevil Born Again. Let's go.
Connor's happy.
Mate, you can't tell me they're not elite.
Oh,
it's very, very exciting. Ironically, another film that had a hallway one-shot sequence is up next. A Blue Beetle animated series is in the work, according to Deadline, and it will act as a continuation to last year's film.
I think they'll use that as a way to tie him into the DCU.
Well, what James Gunn said is with the DCU, there's going to be live action, animated, and video games, and they are all going to be the same actor voicing and doing the live action throughout all. This feels like the first start of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are presuming because it's continuation, they'll keep, hopefully they do indeed keep all the same actors and actresses.
Yes.
And this, like you say, this is the start of them doing that blend between animated and live action all being cohesive and in the same universe.
And Blue Beetle was a stunning film. As with his power set in animation, they've got some room to have some fun. I'm excited to see where they go with it.
It also helps if they go to animation and people are like, oh, this is Blue Beetle from the DCU, the animated visual style, bring him back into live action, they can like tweak from the original style to maybe fit better with what they want for DCU, and it won't seem as jarring because we've had this animated one in between.
Yes, exactly. So, next up, I'm going to have a moan.
Okay.
The Watchmen animated project has got its first trailer. It's going to be split up into part 1. I've got 2 things to moan about.
Mm-hmm.
Can we try adapting a new comic book story, please? Watchmen is getting its 3rd adaptation since 2009. In 2009, we got the Zack Snyder film. A couple of years ago, we got the HBO series, and now we're getting an animated project.
Forgot about the HBO series.
Like, I'm not being funny. In a world when in the last 6 years we've seen independent, not widely known comics, The Boys and Invincible, get turned into just phenomenons, why are you adapting the same story for a 3rd time in 15 years?
Is this a rights thing, do we think? Do they have the rights to this and they're not wanting to lose them or something?
Watchmen is just DC, I'm pretty sure. I might be smoking.
I don't know. I'm just this like.
I'm pretty sure Watchmen is just
because like
DC.
usually when things keep getting remade, it's a licensing thing, and they're making sure to hold on to it.
Yeah, Watchmen is just a DC comic,
okay.
that'd be crazy. The other thing, which is far more annoying,
Okay.
Schneider fucking cultists. They seem to think that Watchmen is an original Zack Snyder project.
Oh, because
Because he did the 2009 film. They don't seem to understand. Like they're putting the project and they're like, oh my god, why can't they ever just let him be? He's the blueprint. It's like, no, it's from a comic book.
Right. Honestly, the Snyder fans. I mean, Zack Snyder himself. This is like
help it.
This is a different thing. But did you see that they are now going to? He is releasing his versions of that Rebel Moon or whatever.
Yeah,
in its own 2 parts that are his cut, and it's like, oh, so now you're actually finally releasing the thing that you said you were going to release, and then you just did some weird ass release thing with Netflix. Like,
he said he was doing it with Netflix because they weren't going to interfere. They haven't interfered, so he released a shit cut just so we could then release a director's cut.
Yes. Well, he's released a shit cut so he can then release the R-rated separately after promoting it as an R-rated Star Wars-esque world.
Like, it's crazy. I'm so glad he didn't get allowed to do a Star Wars project because the last one, they're already in a bad spot.
I would then maybe have to side. I mean, I might have ended up siding with Star Wars fans for hating if they hated on him.
But could you imagine the Star Wars fandom with the already toxic fans plus Schneider cultists? Christ alive. But that is it for the news this week. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time with episode 120. What? The Boys, episode 4 and 5, and Acolyte, episode 5. It's going to be a big boy week, so make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell so that you don't miss it.
See you next week.